think he's going to give hot takes. We'll have to see, though. I mean, maybe IGN low-key randomly go good at interviewing and have, like, some insane shit. In my room. What the nice it's not a flashlight. It's a gamer cup, bro. What the hell? Oh my god, bro. What is this? What is this? Why do you take a picture of a burger? What is that? I mean, it looks like a nice burger, but look, it does look. It looks like it needs some more moisture. Where are we? Oh shit, bro! With Path of Exile 2 early access soon, we have a lot of players asking for pre-download to ensure they can play on launch. To accommodate this, we're making the standalone PC client available for download at 5 p.m. on December 5th PST. Well, there you go, bro. Pre-download. Xbox pre-download is already available. There'll be likely updates on launch. PlayStation Founders Pack should go live 24 hours before early access starts. Okay, well, there you go. But a lot of players asking for pre-download to ensure they can play. So, 5 p.m. Thursday, December 5th. Tomorrow at 5 p.m., bro. Oh, PST. I don't know what time that is, bro. Or December 6th. Oh, wait. I think I'm GMT plus 12, maybe. So that's like the day before, pretty much. That's like the day before. So you get like a day. Or am I GMT plus 13? Oh, maybe it's plus 12 when it's not daylight savings and plus 13 when it is. Maybe, perhaps. This is probably some weird daylight savings bullshit. Please note that when patching begins for Path of Exile 2 early access, you may also have a few remaining files that you need to update as well. Well, there you go, guys. There you go. There you go. And then they posted the music. They posted the music from Camille, which I played at the very beginning of the stream, but I mean, where are we? Look at this. All right, let's listen to this. Just listen to this. Just listen to this. Just listen to this. I mean, this doesn't get you hot, but I don't know what would. Bro, 3 days. 2 hours. 1 second. I'm gonna be playing with no music on launch. By the way, we're gonna be going in-game music to the maximum, bruv. To the log in to PoE 2. Holy shit. By the way, there was a little bit of distortion there in the music. My bad. I have an add-on that boosts the volume, and I turned the volume up too loud, but I didn't want to turn the volume down mid-song because that would be like vibe killing. So there was actually, the audio was peaking there. It's not his music. It was I'm an audiophile. Probably nobody noticed it, but I noticed it. I was playing it too loud. That was my fault. I just wanted to go loud as fuck, you know. Oh shit, what have I just pressed?
For some content to Yento. Classic.
I'm an audiophile.
Keep courage. Give boost.
I'd rather send like 30 TTS messages than spend $44 on a plastic cup. That cup is a great way to repel women. Imagine going out in public with that cup.
What if your girlfriend's a weeb? What if you got a weeb girlfriend? Yeah, there you go. Do you know that a lot of like the most degenerate fucking art made is made by girl artists for giga weebs. And you know that like weeb chicks are very common. You understand that, right? Where am I? All right.
I don't know. I can also just pause every fucking like half a millisecond and look at what the boss is doing.
Okay, the pause shit is. I hope they
That's
change something
scary.
on the pause shit, dude. That shit is so dumb. That is.
It's gonna be terrible.
Pause meta.
Yep.
It's just. Oh, what is the boss doing? Pause.
This is what people did in Diablo 3. Okay, this is D3 tech. I even did it occasionally. Okay, this is very opportune moments. You need to know exactly where the animation is going. You'll basically pause for a frame, unpause, pause for a frame, unpause, and you're just like, all right. It does sound bad. It does sound bad.
The boss doing? Pause. Analyze. Unpause. Pause. Unpause. Pause. Okay, there's the ability.
Pause. Cool.
Me too. We'll see. I'm gonna like the key is we have to abuse it and make it look awful so that it gets changed. You know.
Yes.
True.
Apply pressure.
If you are the first of the pinnacle boss, just spam it in the boss fight. Just spam it, make it look terrible.
I'll spend 9 minutes pause per 10 minutes of the stream.
Yes,
it's a good ratio. That's a good ratio. That's a good ratio. Yeah, it's an issue, and it will happen. I think it won't happen much, because maybe your flow will get fucked up. But yeah, no. With less movement, maybe it'll be actually really good for pausing. If you give give us a clean pause where we can pause and see the whole screen as well. Oh my god, it's basically time spot. We're doing time stop at that point, aren't we? It's time stop. Chat, thanks for coming over. Let me show you the house. Over here is my front door. Oh, that's my Clanet. Welcome, Matt. And over here is my collection of waifu cups. Oh, I know, I'm so quick. Now follow me to my cuck shed. Oh, over here is my booby mouse pad. Oh, I know I'm quite the quirky little Kuma. Gooner. Oh no, quirky little. Oh wait, what I am? I even on about raw dog. Okay, Dad.
Some might say this is a Diablo-like announcement.
Dude, your mum's pussy's Diablo-like.
Will you be announcing your return to Final Fantasy XIV next? Maybe Titykula can carry you through raids next time.
Wait.
Don't worry, Quinny. We all love the cute cup. Chad is just having fun making fun of you. Can't wait to order my noodle.
Wait. Luckily those skill names...
Hello, Quinn. This is your architect. Yay, so, I'm gonna need another $100,000. I need to work on double-checking the barn roof. I have to do some basic geometry. Just ignore that. My caller ID says I'm currently in Hawaii. Actually, better send 200,000. Also, we won't break ground for another 3 years.
Yo,
Fifth month just to have an ad-free Po2 release.
Wait, luckily... Okay, wait. First data mine service by those two. Luckily, those are only skill names and descriptions. But who knows what else can be data mined in 72 hours. It's worrying and concerning, but kind of expected that data miners have access to the CBT, cockball torture. Oh, shit, bro. No, it's not by MP. Okay, what? Ground slam. Bruh. I mean, if it ever gets turbo leaked and it's all on PoEDB, bro, I mean, it is what it is. It's one of those things where I'm going to be depressed and sad, but... Please don't watch other people beating bosses. Please don't watch other people beating bosses or Quinn Court. What is this?
If you really try hard and hardcore, I feel like you're gonna die your first campaign playthrough.
Yeah.
Like, you're for sure gonna die.
Yeah, Chad, I don't understand. Why are you linking this? Dude, my plan is to go raw dog. My plan is raw dog. It's raw dogging. I don't understand what you're on about. My plan is to go raw dog. Yeah. The plan is to go raw dog. That's what I want to do. I want to go raw dog. Now, that'll be through the campaign and through everything. See, the first ever Uber boss kill. If someone's attempting the first ever kill on HC, and they could die, or something. Just say, for example, Ben's doing the final boss, and he could die. That sounds like content. I'll probably just watch that. I don't care. Because you gotta remember, my brain's so fucked. Like, I've seen footage from boss fights. I don't remember any of the boss fight mechanics. I don't know. So I will not remember any of the mechanics. Like, unless it's like, oh yeah. At one point, he goes, cock-ass! And then he does like a giant AoE explosion and it one-shots you or something. Okay, I'll remember that. But, you know, like, oh, you does a projectile thing and a cone thing and he does some other bullshit. I'm not gonna remember any of that shit. I don't remember any of that shit. Right now, you could ask me like, what's mechanics? Let's get. What's the PoE 1? What's the PoE 2 bosses? There's that tunnel thing, right? All I know is this that thing that shoots acid out.
Remember in school when you said, "Oh fuck, bro, I didn't study for this test after studying
I'm
for
a kinetic
70
learner.
hours." That's Quinn.
What I'm saying is I'm a kinetic learner, so I can easily watch someone fight a boss once, and I can still be blind. Because I just can't. There's no way of me retaining this information. For me to learn a boss, I have to just do it many times over and over again myself. That's how I learn a boss. I cannot anyone who watches me play World of Warcraft. I played World of Warcraft for years. There would be these videos that would tell you what to do for the boss. I got to the point where I just didn't watch the videos because they did nothing for me. They did nothing. They did not work. They did nothing. All I would need is to attempt the boss one time, and I would know the mechanics. That's how it works. I can't watch videos. No, I can't watch a video and learn. I have to, but then I go into the boss fight myself and engage with it, and it's like, oh, I get
Quinn,
it.
I have a question regarding logouts in Po2. I know that you guys log out in Po1 because Chris said it's balanced around logging out. However, I don't understand why you even consider logging out in Po2. Because none of the devs said the game is balanced around logging out too.
We'll bring PoE 2 to anxiety piece. If this is not relevant to PoE 2, I'm banning you.
I'm allowed to play whatever I want. So you probably are too.
Actually, I should probably play...
Oh,
actually, I'll do an Iron Fist game.
What is that? Zoom in! What on earth? Fine. I mean, I'm allowed to play whatever I want. So you probably
When
are
you
too.
were looking extremely
actually,
cute today, I always love it when you cosplay as the fat emote.
I work out all the time. I mean, we'll start working out again very soon. Why would you link that? It's got nothing. He said something about this. He said it was something to do with PoE too, and then yeah, I don't know. It just wasn't. So yeah, cute dog on Quinn on cute dog. Dead. I ain't clicking whatever the fuck this is. There's a literal anime waifu like half naked on the screen, bro. Stop leaving me this weird Kuma shit, bro, for real. Guys, you're out of control, mate. Actually, let's open that back up again. Put that over here. Slide that one. Alright, do we watch the blood magic video here? Okay, so this is obviously going to talk about how the fact that it increases your cost, but then it just, blood magic basically changes your mana to be life, so then you can basically have almost no downside, but you just cost a little bit more life, but then you just invest into recovery. That's what he's going to talk about. So let's watch this. Let's see his tech. Let's see his tech video here. Somebody's got. I mean, I totally understand what he's doing here.
Stop it.
Yeah, true.
Get some help.
True. Fucking even Dreamcore's saying Factualized bad.
Welcome to another video. We've finally made it to
Anything
launch
GG
week
bad.
and we're just 4 days away. In this one, I wanted to do a bit of discussion on the Witch Ascendancy, the Blood Mage, and the Blood Magic Keystone. Let's first take a look at the Blood Mage. So we know 4 of the Blood Mage's Ascendancy notables listed here. The Sanguimancy notable must be taken by all Blood Mages. It's the first node, and you must path through here to get to any of the other nodes. Now, I know that some people weren't too happy about the idea of a compulsory notable on an Ascendancy. Personally, I am a fan of this.
It's fine.
I wouldn't like it if every Ascendancy had it,
unique.
but the idea of a few Ascendancies having to take a notable which completely defines the class is quite a novel concept.
Yeah.
And I think it makes a ton of sense on this Ascendancy in particular, considering what the node does.
It's the theme, bro.
Sanguimancy makes skills gain a base life cost equal to mana cost, and in exchange, a passive ability called Life Remnants is gained. Life Remnants causes monsters to drop red orbs on death, which can be picked up to gain life. Now, one of the most important parts of this skill was actually missed out of the official livestream reveal by accident. And that's that the life gained from picking up the Life Remnants can overflow maximum life, up to twice your normal maximum.
Yep, double.
I'll go into the Blood Mage one at least. So one thing I should mention about that is that it does allow you to overcap your life by double, which is something that I didn't mention in the video, but it's kind of important, right? So effectively, if you're picking up those orbs, then you can get to double the amount of life that you normally have. So yeah.
I'll link the timestamp.
Yo, spoiler alert though, bro. Overflow's going to be like a gimmicky mechanic unless you can constantly overcap, like turbo consistent. I think it's going to be I just have a feeling that it's going to be an inconsistent mechanic to rely upon.
From the Darth microtransactions and the Ghazi
Probably
interview
really potent
with
in
Jonathan,
mapping,
where he goes over that mechanic in the description below if you're interested.
That shit versus
so,
bosses.
Overflow is a new mechanic in PoE 2, and we don't really know too much about it. What we do know is that Overflow doesn't count as a maximum resource for the purpose of scaling. You can see that in this footage here with the Invoker Monk Ascendancy using the Meditate skill, which overflows maximum energy shield. Current energy shield is doubled, but maximum energy shield remains the same. However, we're lacking some of the really important information about overflowed resources, such as how long does overflow last by default?
It was permanent.
Will your recovery apply to overflowed resources? And will you be able to spend overflowed resources for skill costs?
I'm calling it now. It's going to decay. I'm going to say it's going to last for 4 seconds. As long as you've gained it recently, but then after you've not gained an overflow recently, it's going to start decaying really fast. I'm calling now. There it is.
These things are important to see just how useful this mechanic will be. Now, as far as Sanguimancy and the Life Remnants ability goes, the importance of overflow not counting towards maximum life is realised on another Ascendancy notable, Gore Spike, which makes you have 1% increased critical damage bonus per 20 life.
Bro, this right here, bro, this is the reason why I'm thinking about going the Melee Witch. That right there. This plus, there's multiple abilities we've seen that have effectively guaranteed crit, where you don't invest into crit at all. You go full health scaling, full strength, right? Full health scaling, full strength, and you just use an ability that has a guaranteed crit, and just basically turn your person into like a one-shotting character that just does a single guaranteed crit. Like for example, Sunder, we've seen Sunder. You got guaranteed crit from Sunder. We've also seen guaranteed crit coming from a support gem. There's multiple ways of getting guaranteed crit.
The wording on this notable implies that the bonus is scaled based on your current life, which will of course include any overflowed life that you have from Life Remnants, but perhaps more importantly than that, this means that when you take a lot of damage and your life is not full, your bonus will drop off. And it also means that the node has an anti-synergy with a low life concept that's trying to make use of Pain Attunement.
Yeah.
Because your current life will always be significantly lower, diminishing the critical damage bonus gained from Gore Spike.
Bone Shatter Witch, bro, log in. Bone Shatter Witch, yeah.
Now, the usefulness of Life Remnants is unquestionable in a mapping environment where you're killing monsters often enough to benefit from the recovery and the overflowed life that the orbs provide. But the big question for me is how useful this skill will be for bossing. How many bosses will have adds, and how often are those adds encountered?
I think you'll be able to ramp it up somehow. I think one of these other ascendancy nodes will allow you to ramp it. But it will require uptime. My prediction is you'll have ways of maintaining it in single target, but it'll take a while to ramp. And then whenever this basically phases with this downtime, it's going to drop. Dude, I'm basically in the game designer's heads. I can predict these things before they happen every single time. People say I'm like, whatever, I pre-watched, or they say like I have inside info. No, I just basically am a game designer at GG at this point.
If there's no ads, is there a way that we can sacrifice our own minions to spawn life remnants? The answers to these questions will be vital to see how good the Blood Mage ends up performing. Alright, one of the other things I wanted to discuss in this video is the Blood Magic Keystone, in relation to the Blood Mage. Sanguimancy will make every skill that costs mana also costs life as well. And from everything that we've seen so far about the Blood Mage, it looks like you're going to want to be fully focused on scaling life and life recovery.
Yeah.
And that's where Blood Magic comes in. This keystone has conveniently moved up on the tree from PoE 1, now finding itself in the middle between the strength and strength intelligence starting areas, so it's much closer to the witch. Blood Magic removes all of your mana and makes skills cost life instead of mana. This keystone is really interesting because one of the massive opportunity costs of losing your mana pool that existed in PoE 1, which is reserving all of it against powerful auras, is gone in PoE 2 because of the introduction of Spirit. But how does the Sanguimancy skill cost modify?
I feel like Blood Magic's going to be like one of these things that likely, unless they have some other purpose for mana, or there's some like abusive, overpowered support gem that interacts with mana, which I've looked at the support gems. There is none that we currently are aware of, but there's a bunch that say coming soon, so who knows. It's going to be pretty heavily meta.
Here we go again. God
unless you can solve
rank day one.
Unless you can just solve mana, but with like a single node elsewhere with even less investment, and then still use mana. Like maybe mana is trivial to solve. But if it's not trivial to solve and mana requires a decent investment, then Blood Magic, if you're pathing in that direction, it seems like a pretty no-brainer. Presuming you're not going mom or anything, right?
Interacts with Blood Magic.
Yeah.
Well, there's actually an item in PoE 1 that does exactly the same thing. The unique body armor, the Covenant. This item makes skills gain a base life cost equal to 100% of base mana cost. For example, if a skill has a cost of 19 mana, when you equip this item, it will now cost 19 mana and 19 life. But when you allocate Blood Magic, that same...
I know this shit all too well, because obviously trying to force Wild Strike of the Extremes into like 15 different builds, and just losing my mind doing so.
Skill now has a cost of only 19 life, not 38 life as you may expect. And that's because the base cost of the skill is now 19 life due to Blood Magic, and therefore, since it no longer has a base mana cost, the modifier on the Covenant no longer has any effect. If this mechanic also translates over to the use of Blood Magic in combination with the Blood...
So skills cost life instead of mana. Blood Magic. Skills get a base life cost equal to mana cost. Yeah, that's a 50-50 depending on how they code it. I don't think you can guaranteed say one way or the other. I don't think it's a big deal, though. I think it's a... Even the thing is, I don't think it's a big deal. Even if you double the cost of life, who cares? You're investing in full life anyway, and it's a flat amount that you're spending, combined with the fact you're going to be stacking recovery. I don't think it's a huge deal.
Major ascendancy in PoE 2, as I expect it will do, then this will be quite a beneficial combo.
I'm going to be synergetic for sure, though.
Because the use of Blood Magic on this ascendancy not only allows you to fully focus on life scaling, but it also essentially halves the base resource cost of your skills.
Yes, so you can link any of the ascendancy skills. I don't know what you'd link to this, though. Maybe Life Remnants have duration tag, or maybe they've got like, maybe there's some sort of cooldown, maybe the cost reduction would work on it somehow. I'm not sure. You could link it to stuff.
You're already forced to spend life with your skills due to the fact that you have to take Sanguimancy, and so clicking on Blood Magic just removes the mana cost without increasing the life cost. If you had no other planned use for your mana pool, then removing it will simply make your life easier. No pun intended. Now, one last thing that I'll mention in this video, which is related to blood magic, is a conversation that I had with Octavian while I was at the PoE2 event in...
Oh shit, he's getting Octavian back seats, bro. Octavian back seat, dude. What has GGG been doing to Octavian, bro? God damn. Yo, what the hell?
We had just learned about the
He's gone full game designer now. He's got that game designer vibe to him now. You know? He's got that fucking, you know, he's got the Octavian, bro. Yo, shit. God damn. I don't know what happens. Like, you become a game designer, dude, and then you just log in.
System.
I'm actually not going to comment.
With just one life flask and one mana flask. And I asked him if the blood magic keystone should replace your mana flask with another life flask slot, as currently it just removes your mana, so your mana flask slot essentially becomes useless. He said that he didn't think it should because the keystone is already solving your skill costs, and that's the trade-off you're making. Before I asked that question, I thought that it probably should swap your mana flask slot out for another life flask. But after hearing his response and thinking about it a little bit, I think he's right. Because with the change to mana no longer being the default resource for reservations, blood magic has become a much better option as a method to solve skill costs for builds with good life recovery, as they no longer have to deal with the massive opportunity cost of losing their mana that they had in PoE 1.
Yep.
I thought that would be a nice tidbit to mention here for those wondering about the mana flask.
I feel like they should let us invest, though. There should be a part in the tree or some shit. Like, I think somewhere in the middle, which is accessible by many, which allows you to change the configuration of your flask setup. I don't like the idea of it being locked behind an item. Because it's like, because you're just never going to use that unique, right? Why would you ever use... Because obviously they've got a unique that allows you to have 2 life flasks, but then it wastes a slot, and it's like, you're never going to use that. Like, it's ever going to... Well, I mean, I predict that you'll never use that. So, which is why it'd be cool if you could invest other ways, you know? So a more accessible node on the tree, which lets you configure, or maybe you go to a crafter and, you know, you give them resources or something. You should modify this, which slots work how. Just, I don't know.
Anyway, I just wanted to make this video about the Blood Mage and...
Well, do you know it'd be cooler, actually, if you could reforge your mana flask slot to a charm slot, bro? That'd be cool.
Blood Magic, as it's currently one of my top considerations to play for PoE 2's launch, alongside the Titan. I'm just not sure what to play.
Reforge, I'm saying, like, they could have, like, a vendor or a fucking quest or, like, a price that you pay, or there could be a node on the tree, or there could be a I'm just saying, that'd be cool if you could do that.
I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching. And as always, stay tuned and stay safe.
Yeah, cool video. Cool video, true. Cool video, true. Very cool, yeah. I've already got that, I believe. Where are we? Yeah, I've already got this. Yeah, life stacking melee blood witch. We'll just put plus BM on there as well. Just add a min PM on there. Well, plus BM question mark, because I don't know if I'd actually do it. It's one of those things where we need to determine if there's other uses for mana. There may be other uses for mana that make a lot of sense. That, you know, maybe like recovery's really hard to come by in PoE 2. Maybe the life cost is actually significant. There's a big trade-off, and actually mana's easy as fuck to solve. There's many things where it's like, well, I mean, I've already got blood magic notes in here, bro. Blood magic pseudo buff because spirit instead of mana res, right? This is like the, you know, the revelation we had, which is very important to note. But I'm guessing because blood magic got giga buffed, because spirit got implemented, it's going to be like super OP. So then there's going to be reasons why it's not super OP, because the devs would have thought of this. Otherwise, there'll be tons of builds that would just do that. Saying that, maybe the way they were going to compete with blood magic was to create a thing called Mind Over Matter, and then you know, have that at 100%. Maybe that's their answer to saying, you know, maybe that's their answer to blood magic being OP, is they just make a mana thing that's just as OP. So then you've got like a, you know, you got an option. Watching every guy. Okay, let's ban this guy. I've been for longer, dude. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you, man. You're retarded. We're watching it. Yes, watching the interviews. I've already watched. Is this server playing? What is this? Yes, we've seen this. This is not PoE 2 related, bro. It's just a picture of Mathel flexing. Okay, I've already watched the pause meta. Yes, we've talked about this. All right, Path of Exile 2 interview. Oh shit, bro. Here we go. IGN PoE interview. Sure, this is gonna be Pog, bro. Sure, this is gonna be Pog. He's gonna have good questions, bro. He's gonna have good questions.
Path of Exile 2 has everybody hyped, myself included, for the December 6th release of the beta. Now, I've been very fortunate in that I've gotten a few opportunities to play it over the last year. I've played the Witch, I've played the Ranger, I have played the Mercenary, I've played the Monk. I can't wait to dive in and play the beta. That said, at all of the preview opportunities, I had the chance to sit down with Jonathan Rogers, the game director, and ask him a few questions. Now, I've never released these interviews before, but I thought I would do so right now to get some thoughts from him about Path of Exile, about the games industry, and what he thinks.
What are you doing over there that's keeping people into Path for over 10 years and excited about Path 2? What do you focus on to keep that going?
I really think that it's being unafraid of innovation. I think a lot of game companies, and especially as they get larger, they start to get very sort of dried in the wool. And it even...
Yeah, he said Path 2, chat. You need to get over it. He did say Path 2. It's kind of weird that he did that, and I've never heard anyone say that before, but, you know, we understand what he's saying, guys. He's allowed to say Path 2. Path 2. Well, he's allowed to do that.
Happens within the studio. Like, quite frequently, I propose a change and I get a lot of pushback from people because, oh, this is the way we've always done it, you know, that kind of thing. And just even from that, like, I don't think it's even necessary, like, you know, because people talk all the time about how, oh, you know, budgets get large and people get risk averse. I don't even think that's necessarily even the largest pressure. I think that what it is that even internal to the studio, you know, a lot of people get used to how things are. They want things to stay the same. Like, many people who work for a game company are fans of the game. And so you get that same pressure of like, oh, you know, we can't change our flasks work. We can't change this. We can't change that. You know what I mean? And so we just have to really try to push through that. And so a lot of the time in the studio, what I'm doing is I'm saying to people, you know what? Like,
well, that's what he was saying initially with PoE2. They couldn't change it. They couldn't change it. And then they properly split the game apart. And then they did change it. So I guess he made that step, didn't he?
Even if you don't like this, we're going to try it, and if it's bad, then it's bad, and we'll just do something else. But if, you know, it's worth trying to do different things, and I think that served us well. And every time we've taken risks, it's paid off, right? And every time that we've been risk averse, I think it hasn't gone as well for us.
Why do you sort of stand out right now in the industry? I think about how you handled a recent difficult decision, I have to imagine, to delay the beta from the...
You know what? I see where he's going with that, and I overall agree. I think that not every time they've taken risks has worked. I feel like, you know, when they took a risk to put loot boxes into the game, that didn't work, and I think that was objectively bad. When they took a risk to send, like just recently, right? Send a review copy of Path of Exile 2 or Path 2 to Extra Life so he could do a review and not make a guide-style content. I feel like that was a risk they took. Obviously didn't pay off for them. But I think fundamentally, I would rather they take larger risks, right, and they go try and innovate, and then occasionally fail, right, versus the other thing, which is just trying to maintain and just trying to exist and just trying to survive, and then just slowly dying because they never adapt. That's always bad. That you see this with Twitch streamers. You see this in many aspects of life. There's people who just like get into this flow, and then they don't adapt, and then they just die. They just die because they never try and innovate. So it's 100% taking risks. Generally speaking, most of the time a good thing, as long as you can afford to take those risks. Obviously, if you're in a situation to, like, where you've like, you know, don't like take a risk on like your life savings. But you know, if you've got some extra money, take a risk investing it in something that you're not confident in necessarily, but it could pay off for you, right? Maybe it won't. But let me tell you, if you just sit there and just like put it in your bank and hoard it the whole time, and you never do, yeah, well, then you're definitely gonna take a big L.
December, what?
Bet all your money, gamble. You will win.
Well, let me rephrase the question.
Mm-hmm.
How did you decide to handle the delay in that manner?
Get it twisted.
Well, first of all, delaying a game is very, very difficult because there are so many people who want to tell you that it can't be done. And the reason they want to say that is because they're like, oh, you know, we're going to have to lose this deposit on this marketing thing, and we're going to have these server costs, and we're going to have this and that, right? So it ends up costing a lot of money.
Bro.
So it's a very difficult decision to make. And plus, there's also just disappointing the players, and everyone's afraid of that, and that's really hard. But at the same time, we just kind of got to the point where it was untenable not to delay because the risks were starting to get too high. But I think the really most important thing is just being honest with people, not appearing, you know, like, for lack of a better hated word, like a corporate drone, right? Like you want to actually just be honest and tell people exactly, why did we come to this decision? What actually happened there? And I think that, like every time we've ever been honest with the players, I think that that's been something that's been really good. So, that's where it comes from, really. Like we just told people exactly why it was. We didn't kind of mince words or kind of, trying to be vague. Like, here is the exact thing that caused us to delay the game. We'll tell the players that, and they'll hopefully be.
Why don't they do this? Why don't other companies do this more often? It's so easy. Like, we could lie and gaslight people, make up some random bullshit, and try it, or we could just tell the truth. Why? I don't understand why they're not more transparent. Where's the like? When have you seen Blizzard being transparent, bro, and just being like raw dog? Like this, like yo, we fucked up the whole Diablo Immortal thing, guys. We thought people wanted mobile phone games. We saw this marketing data that told us that people were playing more mobile games. We thought that's what our audience would want, and we tried it. Obviously, we were wrong to do that, and actually, everything it's not happened. It's not happened. Never happened. It's one of these things. Why not just be more transparent? It seems to be so easy, and people like developers that do that. And you can pretty much get away with almost anything as long as your reasoning is solid, right? As long as their heart was in the right place, then you're good. That's probably it, right? Those other companies' hearts aren't in the right place, so therefore, if they just be transparent, it just comes off as ultra scummy and totally fucked up. Yeah, you kind of have to be morally good for this transparency thing to work.
Understanding of that.
Yeah.
And I think it's received really well. I watched a different announcement from a different company, and it was all over the place. And then I watched yours, very succinct. You take responsibility, you apologize, and then you put it out there. And I as a player, really appreciated that because I am looking forward to the November date. What's the biggest issue facing the overall industry right now, in your opinion?
Oh, that's a tricky one. I mean, it's interesting because I think AAA gaming is in a weird place right now. We're kind of in this weird
AAA bad.
Maybe this
double
is
A good.
Sort of double A territory.
Yes,
where it's
double A
we're
good.
In this kind of position where we're not like one of the giant mega studios, so we kind of haven't inflated to the point where it becomes difficult to even make anything. But we're also definitely not in the classification of what you would call an indie game either. So I think that's kind of interesting.
Bro, game studios peak at like a few hundred people. Legit. They peak. That's where they peak. Because they got enough people till they can pump out fucking content. But they're not so big where they have so much administration and a bunch of shareholder bozos that they just tell you what to do and they fuck everything up. 100%. There's a point where, it's good. But then you get to this other point where it's bad. And do you know what it is? It's when you have a person who's fundamentally, maybe it's not even the number of people. The question is, do you have someone in control that has good principles? And do they actually have control, or are they a puppet, right? If they actually have control and they're not a puppet, and they have good principles, well then yes, you get a good game. Right? Because look at Valve. Gabe is keeping Valve. Valve is a great company. Don't get twisted. Don't get twisted. Valve, this is maybe, and dude, why is that? Why is Valve a great company? Gabe. He's just not selling out. He's like, nah, this shit is never going to be public. We ain't going to let shareholders tell us what to do. We're just going to do what the fuck we want. I've got my hardcore principles. I want to run this shit as ethically as possible. Anyone trying to do sussy shit, fuck off. Get off my platform, bitch. Gabe is and that's fundamentally what it is. Having someone who has actual power, and they have a fucking strong vision, and they have good principles at the top. And if you have that, you have a good game company. And what happens is, every time they become these giant corporate fucking AAA things, it goes to shit, and a bunch of suits take over, and they just ruin everything. They ruin it. They suck the soul out of it, and they try and just optimize it as like a cash cow.
There's just not a lot of huge things in that area.
Straight up.
And really, I mean, that stuff we talked about the ossification of game development, in AAA, it's just really, really bad at this point, right? There's definitely very little risk-taking. There's kind of not a lot of that going on. But at the same time, there aren't a lot of those kind of indies coming up and sort of entering the big leagues either. And so it's just something that's kind of been a trend for quite a while. You've kind of got the small games and you've got the big games. There's very little in the middle. So I think Path of Exile really is kind of in that sort of space. They're one of the few games that kind of is in that type of area.
Right in the middle.
Yeah, exactly, right? So we get to have kind of nice graphics and a nice budget and all that sort of stuff, but we also get to still be innovative and do interesting things that other companies aren't doing.
They have mobility as well. If they decide on a whim to just change what they're doing to all right, fuck this, we're actually just going to change this. Everyone stop what you're doing, go all to Endgame. They can just do that. We tried to do that shit at Blizzard. You're going to have to go through 50 different people. And they're going to be like, well, actually, our marketing reports tell us that we're going to get more money if we spend more time on the cinematics and the campaign. So, no, you're not going to, after like 2 months, they're just going to say no.
So I really don't know how to sort of reclaim that middle again and sort of have the game industry have that kind of stuff again. I think that really is challenging for the industry. Like, it used to be that there were a lot of what you might call AA games, and I kind of don't know where it all went. Like, why do we now...
Microsoft bought them all, bro. Sony bought them all. Okay, it's not good. So they bought all these studios and fucked them all up.
On this position where you've got the like ultra AAA stuff, which is
Activision,
kind of
bro. Activision came along and just said, "Yo, fuck everything."
Solid and kind of not really going anywhere. And then on the other end of the side of things, you've got like the indies where it can be hard to get the broader audiences. And I just don't know how you get that middle back.
But don't get it twisted, bro. That's because that, like, for example, if Gabe was in control of Blizzard, right? If it was not, who the fuck's he called? That guy, everyone's like, oh, he's so legendary, he's so goated, he's the man. Who the fuck's he? That old guy. The old Blizzard boomer guy. Who the fuck was he? The guy who sold to Activision. Mike Morhaime. Yeah, if that guy had gone big a dick, he could have kept Blizzard fucking popping off. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. He's the one who fucking sold that shit. All right? Fucking Mike Morhaime sold that shit to the devil. Okay, don't get it twisted.
I feel like there's been an over-prioritization put on graphics.
Well, that's an interesting one. I think graphics are important. They actually set, there is definitely evidence that people appreciate a game more when graphics are a thing, but at the same time, you can do that stuff more efficiently if you're clever. And I understand it sort of may look like, the part of the reason why AAA budgets have inflated so much is because, of what they're doing with graphics. But at the same time, I do think that a lot of what they're doing, you can do good-looking graphics by taking advantage of modern hardware without tying yourself into a process that leads to a very expensive development process that I think some studios have. We're able to produce a game with 100 bosses and 800 monsters without having to fall into the trap of having to have a team that's absolutely thousands and thousands in size.
That's crazy. That's crazy. When you consider these fucking AAA companies come out, their game literally has 6 different mob types in it, and then just reskinned with slightly different colors. Or you get this insane budget, insane game, and then there's just every single dungeon has the same boss, and he's called Tomb Lord, right? It's crazy. It's crazy. Blows my fucking mind how the fuck what are they doing that these other guys aren't doing? And in terms of graphics, dude, graphics absolutely don't make or break a game. It's 100% fundamentally comes down to the gameplay and the overall is it fun to play and is it good? You look at games with complete dog shit graphics. But I think they're a multiplier for sure. And on top of that, they're a good advertising tool. Good graphics gets people's foot in the door, right? And then if your game's actually good, then guess what? Boom, you lock them in.
Can be done. It's just a question of correct prioritization and the way that you do it. So I think it can be done. And as I said, players do value graphics. It's important. When people are looking at impressive boss fights, part of what they're looking at is the good animation and all the sort of work that we put into that. It's part of the spectacle and the charm. So a lot of people do say graphics aren't important. I actually don't agree. I think they are important, but then at the same time you have to be very careful not to waste time.
They're not a fundamental pillar.
Sanding under the drawers is what they would Pixar I think used to say. When you don't need to be doing that. When you can be concentrating on stuff that's actually, put the budget on the screen, as it were, as opposed to wasting a lot of time with things that people just don't really notice.
Do you think Path of Exile 2 is going to be able to dethrone Banana Game on Steam charts?
That's a tricky question. I think that when we go into full release, I think that there's a very good chance that we could end up topping the charts. But, for early access, I'm not so sure. I guess we're going to see. I really have no idea what kind of concurrency we're going to get for early access. On the one hand, it is a big... I think it's going to be a big, tentpole release. On the other hand, it is early access, right? A lot of people might be afraid to jump in for that reason. But I guess the message to those people would be that, we are a game that has the content of what a full AAA game would have these days. And we're also a much lower price point.
He's being humble. I don't know if he's being humble. I feel like this game is a niche, and I don't think it's going to necessarily top Steam charts on early access. I think it's going to pop off. I think it's going to pop off for sure, but I don't think it's going to... Now, when it's free to play and it comes out fully and it's everyone can play and it's free, that week is going to be crazy. That week's going to be crazy. BG3... Yeah, BG3 is a niche, but they didn't dethrone Banana Game or anything, did they? I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I think... I'm in the... 1 mil kind of camp. Maybe. The 1 mil camp. Somewhere around there, give or take a few $100K.
What those games would be. So even though, it's early access, I think that the value proposition is incredibly there, and I think we should be able to see some pretty big numbers on launch of early access as well. But certainly when we get to full release, I'm sure we're going to be topping the charts. I see no reason why we wouldn't be.
Confident.
Ooh,
absolutely.
Shit! Look at this guy. Calm down. God damn, yo, topping the charts.
Cool.
Well, we're certainly going to buy enough servers for that.
Damn!
When you're making a game, what's the most important consideration a developer needs to have when crafting the experience? What needs to be top of the priority list?
It's honestly a very difficult question because of the fact that a good game, is the culmination of getting every little tiny detail right. And it really is that defeat in detail, I think, that makes games feel bad. And the amount of effort, it honestly takes a lot of experience to get to the point where people even know what good looks like. I think that, once again, a lot of AAA games these days are getting defeated in detail, right? Like, it's all of the little things that add together to an experience that that isn't good, rather than it being just like one big issue. And I guess a lot of people, when they're analyzing games and why they're not doing well, they want to focus on, oh, it's because of this thing, and this big issue, it's because of that big issue. But I really think that gameplay comes down to getting 1,000 small details right. And if you do that, then the experience will be good. And it's honestly, like, I think even we underestimated what it would take to ship Path of Exile 2, because, like, just getting all those details right and like getting all those things, like it was very easy.
I would argue that D4 is fundamentally bad. I don't think it's like, I mean, yeah, they've got thousands of bad decisions, but at the same time, like, overall, their decisions are still bad. Like, I don't know. They're just you know what I'm saying, right? Like,
to be overconfident, especially at first when we were marketing the game.
Like, terrible itemization. That seems to me very fundamental. That seems to be like they released with they were trying to ship with, I kid you not, 2 stats, bro: attack and defense. That's what they were. That's what they were going. That was their original proposition and plan. And then you should remember the skill twig. Okay, the skill tree that we have, which is still the skill twig, bro. I think this is very fundamental things that like completely ruin a game and make it unplayable for more than a few hours. Like, I mean, actually, I felt like that's not like 1,000 small mistakes. These are like very large, big mistakes.
Because making a fresh game means getting all those details right again. And, getting all the, like, we were really overconfident about itemization. Like, it took a lot of iteration to get to the point where that was working. Like, we thought, oh, yeah, we'll just take PoE 1, make a few changes, and then we're good. No, like, it required, like, a huge amount of extra work, like, all of those things. And, like,
no, itemization pretty much, I mean, outside of crafting, it pretty much is the same.
You get one thing wrong, and immediately someone will have a bad experience, and they'll say that your game is bad.
Yeah, unless I'm wrong, and it's going to be, itemization's going to be completely different? Wait. There's still going to be 3 prefixes, 3 suffixes, and there's going to be, like, mod tiers that they can roll on, and then they're going to have... Wait, what? We've seen items. They look exactly the same as PoE 1.
Really is all those details that are required to get it done. So, yeah, I honestly couldn't point to one thing. It's just like 1,000 things, but correct, and knowing what those are.
Yeah, I remember the old philosophy. I think it was Bungie who said it, like the 3 seconds of fun or something like that.
Sure.
Is that still one of the main things that you
Well, I mean, sure, it's absolutely relevant, right? Like, you need to make sure that at every moment you are enjoying the experience that you're having. And, and as I said, any one thing can destroy that. So you need to be very careful.
Okay, cool.
I mean, in some ways you could say that game development is more about not getting things wrong than it is about getting things right. Like, if you can polish absolutely every little problem that a player might have out of an experience, you can give them a good time, even though, like obviously you need innovation as well, but like, it really is important just to not get any of that stuff wrong.
What makes you so confident?
I don't get that 3-second rule thing. There's plenty of time that I'm playing games where I'm not necessarily having fun, but it's the future that I look forward to. Like that carrot on a stick kind of vibe. The denial of the reward that I'm seeking, and I want the reward so bad that it's like engaging to me because I don't have the thing that I want. And then I have fun on the way there, incidentally, and they add things that are fun, but it's like, I wouldn't say I'm necessarily having fun every 3 seconds, bro. What the fuck?
Path of Exile 2 has all those.
Edging, bro, yeah.
I guess we've done a lot of testing recently, and it was something that took us a while to get to and do all that stuff. But effectively, we've beta tested a lot. We've done a lot of these events like that. We've got a lot of feedback. It's helped a lot to get a lot more confidence. And I guess one of the things that also was a bit concerning when we first were doing all that testing is that we were finding that Path of Exile 1 players were not liking the game as much as new players were. So by having,
Ooh.
by iterating more, by making it so those numbers became similar, it makes me actually a lot more confident because I know that someone who knows Path of Exile, who knows how all the mechanics should work, is liking the game. And I also know that a new player who takes it on face value is who also doesn't have any experience with, like who doesn't appreciate the game on the level of just like knowing about all the stats and everything, can also enjoy the game as well. And that makes me feel we've got both the kind of immediate, like, the few seconds of playing is just enjoyable, sort of going well, and we've also got
like not only are they making changes, I feel like, to make it so it's more like PV1, so PV1 guys vibe with it more. I feel like the PV1 guys had like a bit of an adverse reaction seeing the gameplay for the first time and the pacing, and I feel like exposure therapy has been going on. I think I'm not even kidding. Exposure therapy. I remember first seeing. Do you guys remember that first ever gameplay announcement of like Jonathan going through some Vile temple on a monk, and he was like fighting one monster, like hitting him like 20 times, and everyone was kind of despairing and pain champing, and yeah, I remember that. And they just keep showing us this gameplay, and we just keep getting exposed to it to the point where we're kind of recalibrating our brains as to what's normal, and people are kind of just accepting that, this pacing's just going to be different. Like, yeah. I mean, because that seems to be the case. Am I going to get into PoE 2 and I'm just going to like, man, this just feels shit and slow the whole time? I don't think so. But could that happen? Yeah, there's a non-zero chance.
Kind of longer term, I'm caring about stats and how to build my character stuff right as well. And if we can get both of those things right, then I think we'll have a good game in our hands.
Yeah, I mean, I already told you during Summer Games Fest that I was really enjoying it, so
right.
best of luck.
I love slow games.
December. I'm
Absolutely.
very excited.
Myself.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Like, bro, like playing Valheim and just like fucking running around farming boars for like 3 hours, don't give a fuck, man. Just building a little base, collecting resources, mining some shit, dude, love that. Love it. Dude, the feeling, some of the best gameplay in PoE is when you first start off, like, well, way back when I was complete dog shit at the game, and I remember just, like, kiting monsters on a beach, just attacking individual zombies. Like, that's just cool. That vibe, like, I don't know what you want to call that. That's all. No, you just get into the end game and you become accustomed to this new. Your brain recalibrates around, like, must have giga density, must have 20,000 monsters, must be blowing up screen every button press, and just codes that in your brain. And then that's when you think, like, man, it's not as good as when I have, like, a bunch of monsters on my screen. And that's because every monster you kill is a loot box, and you're just getting more loot boxes per hour with the more density, which is why your brain prefers that. But you can actually you can go on a dopamine fast and just fix that shit right away. You can fix that shit right away, bro. Just after, like, a week of PoE 2, it'll be gone.
Path 2 is coming.
The best way to prep for PoE 2, chat, what is it? Path of Exile, Ruthless mode, log in.
Out. What are some of the pitfalls that you want to avoid with Path of Exile 2? And at the same time, what were some of your must-haves when developing a sequel to an already hit game?
Yeah, so I mean, the tricky part is that when you make a game, a sequel to a very popular game that has a very hardcore community, every single thing you change about it is like a potential point of friction for a community that's going to be like can be incredibly.
They are autistic.
I mean, look, they've got a lot of opinions, right?
They're autistic.
And so the pitfall that I worry about is, like on day one you get a bunch of even though. Like new players may play it and enjoy it. You might have a situation where like PoE 1 players are kind of like, I don't like this. It doesn't fit to whatever I want. And so that is a really big problem. And we were actually very concerned about this because when we first did our user testing closed betas, we actually found that Path of Exile 1 players rated the game worse than what Path of Exile 2 players, what new players did.
Yeah.
And that was a huge concern, right? Because it's like, well, we can't really launch like this. This would be a big issue. And so it took us a while to kind of get the game to a point where both PoE 1 and new players both liked it. But we started from a point where new players liked it more than old players. And in fact, it was very interesting because Path of Exile 1 players actually rated the difficulty of the game harder than what new players did. New players rated the game as, it's actually not that difficult. And PoE 1 players were like, man, this game is so impossible. And it's just because they're trying to apply all the knowledge that they had from playing a game for 10 years to a game that has different mechanics and different stuff going on. So as I said, I think that's the biggest pitfall and the biggest potential source of strife that we might get at launch is just, a bunch of PoE 1 players having issues. But as I said, I think we've managed to solve those problems. There was just a lot of things around itemization and like the way the tree was, and just a lot of things like that we had to deal with. And so in terms of stuff that I think that was just really important to get.
I mean, imagine it trying to interact. I mean, I interact with the PoE 1 audience all the time. I mean, yeah. I know what they're dealing with. They don't like change. They get triggered by a lot of things. Yep. I mean, the main thing is maintain positive sentiment without being fake, just by making good decisions repeatedly and just giving us good shit. An example of not doing that recently would be the Fix Your Life thing. Don't give them reasons to get mad, because it can quickly spiral out of control, right? And it could turn into a hate train. Don't, like, literally don't. Like, don't try not to have, like, massive giga terminal, like, fucking server issues that go on for hours and hours. Don't, like, sponsor Shroud so he can, like, pass the queue and then get in before everyone else. Don't give the fucking full game to Fix for Life so then he can fucking play the game, you know, and then just ruin the whole wiki whenever the actual... You know what I'm saying? These are things you can do. Just don't create very large reasons for people to get mad, and then then that way you'll avoid triggering all the autists. Right, and because you do not want that hate train to start. Because once it starts, it builds up momentum, and you can't stop it. They just start. It starts feeding itself. Look at the bad reviews. Oh my god, there's a post about the bad reviews. Oh my god, let's talk about how bad this thing is. Oh, now they're talking about how bad it is, and now more people see it, and then more people downvote it, and then there's even more things to talk about, and just it's like a feedback loop of negativity.
Going from the start, yeah, I mean, this endgame stuff, I think that was something that we realized relatively late, that we really have to make sure that, like, you know, if we don't have a good endgame going into early access, then Path of Exile 1 players are just going to say, hey, this is just a worse game. You know, like, we need that stuff to be able to actually make a PoE 1 player feel like, oh yeah, you know what, this is a true sequel to PoE 1, because for a lot of players in PoE 1, the campaign is not even a thing for them anymore. They complete it in hours because they've done it so many times.
Yep.
Like for them, it's like just a tiny blip in the progress of a character, right?
It's about 2 or 3%.
99% of their time in endgame.
Yep.
So if we didn't have that, then I think it would have been
97.
a disaster. So thankfully, now that we've addressed that concern, we've got stuff. We believe we have enough of an endgame to make those people happy. I think that pitfall will thankfully be avoided. But as I said, it was only a thing that we realized relatively recently.
What was the hardest thing to get with couch co-op, because that's not something a lot of games do these days?
For sure. So, I mean, there's a few things. One of them is that, and this is probably the most obvious one to people, is that having to just build the UI again. We have to make 3 versions of the UI now. We've got the PC version, we've got the console version, then we've got the couch co-op version. But it ended up being really important because we found that it really just sucked to have to wait for the other player to do things. Like when we first did it, it was just, you know, you could open a full screen menu and the other person just had to wait basically. And so then we were like, okay, well, this isn't really good enough. Let's add at least inventory. We'll make it so that part will work. And then as soon as we had that, we're like, oh, but you know, people want to be able to allocate passives separately.
Nodes.
People want to be able to do this and that. And pretty soon we were rebuilding every single UI screen. And we haven't even finished that yet. Like right now, if you've got 2 players, you can't both shop at the same time. But we're still getting complaints about that. So now we're like, okay, now we have to remake the shop interface as well in couch co-op. And we're pretty much ending up, as I said, rebuilding everything
couch
3
co-op.
times now. So,
goddamn wasting the goddamn resources on couch co-op. What the hell, brother? Goddamn, dude. I could not care less if they did not have couch co-op. Because like even when I was fucking 15, I purchased my own little TV, right? And I was system linking my Xbox with the other Xboxes in order to not have to split screen. Okay? In order to not have to split screen. And then you could tilt your monitor away so they can't screen watch you, and then you know, boom. All right? Yeah, rich. I wasn't rich. I bought it with my own money. It was a secondhand TV, okay, brother? Secondhand TV. It was like a fucking this big, bro. We're talking like this big. It was like 320 resolution or something. It came out this. It was a literal box, bro. It was a box. But that's how you do it. And my Xbox was chipped because I couldn't afford games, which I got the guy at the supermarket called Stu to do the chipping for me. Okay, bro? It was like a drug deal in the car park, bro. It was a literal drug deal.
That's certainly something. But I think
Stu.
it is worth
STU,
it because
Stu.
people are so excited for couch co-op. Like even just around the office, you know, like once our developers knew we were making couch co-op, everyone was like, "Oh man, I really want to play this with my partner." Like it was just a really exciting thing. Yeah, and people have responded really well to it. Like you know, ever since the announcement, people have just been really buzzing about it. So yeah, I think it's worth it.
Yeah, it's really cool.
My wife, I tried to get her into PoE, bro, and she like even just having her looking at the gameplay, she's like. She wouldn't even let me. I was watching like Rage QT on the TV, and she was like, "You have to turn this off now. I cannot watch this. I cannot watch this. It's giving me a headache." And I'm like, "Well, Rage QT's not that bad." She's like, "It's nothing to do with him. It's the game. It just looks so awful, and the colors and the particles. Like she was something to do with the particles and the colors. It was giving her a headache, bro, just to see PoE gameplay on the TV, straight up." Okay.
Like, it's just a feature you don't see a lot these days.
For sure.
So the fact that it's being included, it kind of like just reminds you that you're putting a lot of care into Path 2. Path 2 is going to have PvP, right?
Stop saying Path 2, bro.
Well, but it's not really the focus, to be honest. So every time we've ever tried to make PvP like a big focus thing, people have kind of found like they enjoyed PvP better. So like we'll have PvP still in, but it's more of a kind of fun thing you might want to do with your friends rather than some big serious competitive thing. Like we're not an esport. That is not our intention.
Should I have Math stream on then? Yeah, but
that's kind of.
She literally can't watch PvE gameplay, bro.
For PvP?
For PvE?
Oh, for PvE? Yeah. Absolutely, right. I mean, Path of Exile is an atrocious game to balance. It's especially hard now because...
Don't waste time.
The amount of cross-class synergy that can happen, because, we're doing a lot more of the sort of combo-type gameplay, and when we do that, we try to keyword things so that they would work across classes. So, for example, you've got something like a power charge, which is something that you can use to improve your abilities. And we try to have power charge mechanics on quite a lot of different classes. And what that means is that we've got to be very careful about what skills, because you can use skills from other classes. You've got to be very careful about how those things can happen, because like when you're balancing something, when you're looking at it, you may just be only thinking, okay, what can this do with the skills that I've got in this class? But given that you can use things from any class, we also have to be worried about all this other stuff, and it can kind of the explosion of different possibilities kind of gets out of control. And
come on, wrap it up.
I know already that there's just like ultra broken stuff that you can do.
Part of Exile PvP is not balanced, guys.
With the Sork using Spark, it is broken as hell. Like you can just chew through any boss right now. So we need to do something about that. But that kind of thing is certainly tough to deal with. But we kind of like that stuff because that's what makes it interesting in the long term, right?
What's your philosophy in that? Like, you get...
no, it's good. No, he's saying combinatorics shit. What he's saying is combinatorics, good. Combinatorics, good. Combinatorics creates balancing problems. But combinatorics, good. And that's, one of the... that's what he's saying.
I've heard it referred to as, like, nails on a board. You see one pop up a little too high. Do you just let it linger for a while before you tap it down where it needs to be?
So, generally speaking, we don't do nerfs within a league. Like, whatever the balance is when a season starts, we want to keep that so that people don't feel like they invest time into their character and then for the developers to come along and destroy what
Don't lie to him, Jonathan.
So I always try to avoid that.
Don't lie to him. Come on, Jonathan.
To do some balance stuff.
Nah, bro.
I don't want to just, like... Whenever we're doing stuff like that, I try to find something
that guy doesn't know, bro.
Expect as for how we're going to change something. Like, I don't want to just, nerf the damage value, right? I mean, sure, you can do that, but it's cooler, I think, to kind of come up with something else to kind of subvert something that's going on and sort of make it more interesting.
No, what he's saying is generally true, but obviously they do mid-league, like, they nerf shit mid-league all the time, so...
I guess the funny part about that is, and I think the reason why a lot of developers just kind of turn into nerf fests with their patches is because it's way easier to see the thing that's broken and nerf it than it is to see the thing that's underpowered and buff it, because it's just like you don't really like inherently the things that are not as powerful get less attention because players aren't playing with them, so they're not on your mind, and so the ability to sort of notice that stuff and buff it is actually quite hard to sort of get into the mindset of doing, but it is what you should be doing.
Yeah, and there's this sort of dance with players where you want them to feel that power fantasy of leveling.
For sure.
But then you also got to keep it fresh, like with each season of the game. How do you approach that? Like, are you like, okay, this time we're gonna really go all in on druids?
Wait. I'm gonna pause here. I'm talking about the previous question, how he talks about how they decide to buff things that are underpowered. It's funny because he says that other companies don't do that, but other companies literally have policies where they say only buff, never nerf. Like, always buff, never nerf. And those games are far more dog shit. And you know what GGG, I think, does well? Eventually, they nerf all the OP shit. Pretty fucking consistently, across the board. Like, I would say they're pretty good for nerfing. Like, straight up. They're really good for nerfing. But he's saying, we don't even do that much. We try not to do that. We try and just make things that are shit good. Bro, I think they're really good at nerfing. I think that's one of the reasons why the balance of the game can be interesting and fun and cool. Yeah, DD was broke for years. Don't get me started on DD. DD was a fucking travesty. Okay, and yeah, I mean, dude, obviously DD should have been nerfed many times over for many leagues.
And next season it'll be Witch.
It does kind of end up going like that. Like, with each Path of Exile season, we definitely pick a few things to address, but you've always got to make sure that there's a stuff around the whole game. And so ideally with the way we do game design, whenever we add something new to the system, because everything has so much cross-pollination, it means that it generally will affect the builds of kind of all different classes, when we add a league and so on. So that does keep the gameplay fresh. I think more so than most games, we have this kind of like thing where, you know, almost any system can interact with another system, and that is what leads to the complexity that like Path of Exile's kind of
Combinatorics, bro.
But it does mean that you know, it does keep the game fresh every time people keep coming back. So ideally, we can kind of tame the complexity while still keeping that element. But it is pretty challenging.
Yeah.
What's something that you're really proud of with Necropolis, and something that you feel like you could have been better? The feedback has been somewhat mixed. For
So it isn't really my thing. Like I'm not working on Path of Exile 1. So I'm kind of
Dogless, bro. More like it. Holy, that was an L league, bro. Let me tell you, that was a dog league, bro. Dog league.
aware of it just from being in the studio. But
dog league. Terrible league. Terrible
probably
mechanic.
The main issue that we had with Necropolis, I think, was that
crafting system, the entire in-game system for it.
Like brokenness in the economy specifically. Like there were things that certain players were able to do to get like ridiculous amounts of wealth really easily, and that kind of broke the economy.
Maybe you shouldn't let people just fracture a bunch of T1 affixes and all the gear.
Was that at the start people thought that we'd nerfed everything into the ground to the point there would be no like oh, you've nerfed all these things, there's no way to get like good items anymore. And then pretty soon we started getting all of these different economic exploits popping up that led to some pretty crazy stuff. I think that led to some sort of issues. I mean, that's kind of the main one from my perspective, because it's kind of what we've been dealing with as a studio.
I think the gameplay was just objectively unfun. The whole fucking thing where you ran around like collecting these corpses and then you had to stack up your fucking graveyard, and then it was like complicated but actually simple, and it was just in it being really annoying, right? Just was just annoying to engage with. It just was unfun. Yeah, I don't think it's about anything this. I mean, the economy thing probably plays a part in it, but as an SSF player, obviously I don't give a fuck about that. I don't give a fuck about the economy. I couldn't like I literally that's not even part of the equation. As SSF, that league was just fucking trash, dog. That was just a bad league. It's a bad league. I'm of the opinion that they should care about the economy less. I'm constantly saying, like, bro, like, make league mechanics. Like, I hate it whenever they balance the league mechanic around a fucking trade league economy, because then basically the SSF players never get to engage with some of these mechanics. You know, just an easy example was Crucible League. Because Trade League existed, because everyone can drop like a million bases and look at them all, they had to make the really good ones super rare, because ultimately you're going to get a bunch of, people are going to get one rare one, but like it's not going to be for their build, so they're going to put it on the auction house, right? And then you can pretty much get any base you want with all the OP shit on Trade. But then SSF, you want to get your base with the good rolls, you can't get it. You can't get it. You can't get it, which is just like, dude, Don't balance it. Like, let the trade league be broken for a league around that mechanic, okay? Let it be broken around that mechanic, and who cares? Just let the people who are just playing the game, use the items, do the stuff. Like, fuck the actual trade league. Like, for example, another example of it was talismans. I loved talismans. I don't know, do you guys remember whenever they made a change to make talismans drop? Because they dropped corrupted, they said, oh yeah, let's roll these a few times and then select the best one. And they were fun to loot, and they were cool, and you would get them, and, like every time you saw a talisman, you'd be like, oh, fucking pog, dude, there's a talisman. This could be good. And as SSF, it was totally balanced. Maybe, like, occasionally I'd get a talisman that would actually work for my build. Most of the time, I just had them in my bank, and I just leave them there. But then what happened was on Trade League, obviously, there's a bunch of necklaces that were really well rolled because everyone just got lots of talismans, and they just, and then because of that, good necklaces became very cheap, and then they had to just delete that system. Even though it was a really fun, engaging system, it broke Trade League, so then they had to nerf it. And I'm of the opinion, like, bro, either A, fuck Trade League, right, and just let it be broken sometimes for some stuff, or B, just have a different economy for SSF. And then have the rates different for SSF, where okay they can have more fun mechanics that otherwise we never get to interact with some of these things. Okay, yeah.
There were just a lot of these kinds of exploits early on in the league, more so than usual, and so that's been kind of a bit annoying. And so yeah, it is really hard. And I think one of the things we sort of learned about that is that we really need to be doing more extreme testing. So like with each mechanic, really thinking like, okay, what is the most broken possible thing you could do with this? And really concentrating on that, because otherwise it can lead to these kinds of problems. And I think our QA just kind of weren't really thinking about it in that way as much. Like they tended to look at things and be like, okay, does this feel balanced in the context of like the other stuff you're using it with without really thinking as much about like what is the worst possible case for this and really zeroing in on that. So yeah, we had a lot of issues around that, and I think that's part of what sort of happened with Necropolis.
With Path 2, what's like your favorite quality of life thing that you're introducing with it? Like you've announced couch co-op. Cross progression is huge in my mind. But what's something that you're really happy with?
To me, the best QOL stuff is just the way the new skill gem system works. It's just so much easier.
True.
And also now, I mean, this is just what we're doing at the moment, but like now that we've got the support gem system working how it is, it's just so much easier to deal with, and like, you know, it makes it way more obvious. We've got, I don't know if the build that you've got has all of the stuff here, but like seeing the changes that happen to your character as you add each thing, like that stuff is really nice. It just makes building so much easier. So I mean, you know, there's like a million things I could say, but like that's kind of what I'm thinking about at the moment, is just all that stuff with skills and supports and how much easier that makes the game.
Story-wise for Path 2, have you put more focus into it, knowing that like you're going to have more people playing together?
For sure. I don't know if you noticed the changes that were even made in the build. You probably didn't play quite far enough to really understand that, but we're doing a lot more with that stuff. I think we're doing a lot better job than PoE 1 did, and I do hope that by the time people get through Path of Exile 2, they will at least know what the story was, which was not the case for a lot of Path of Exile 1 players.
Shit. We'll see about that, Jonathan. Nah, I'm going to listen to the story regardless. I just hope it's like not something that I have to force myself to sit through, and something that I want to sit through, you know? That's what I hope.
Yeah, we can definitely do better there. But there's also even other things like we've changed the dialogue system quite a bit from how it was in PoE 1. There's still more changes coming even for that. It is something that I want people to be able to consider good in the game, which I think that PoE 1 I think had pretty good sort of environmental stuff going on, but I wouldn't say that like the overall narrative was like a lot of people skipped it. They weren't really interested, and I think that we can definitely do better there.
What's the greatest lesson you learned from playing other people's games?
I guess it's very different depending on the type of game, but I guess one of the things that I mostly focus on is the fact that like whenever new games come out, you really need to be cognizant of the new minimum bar that they're setting. Like even if you're not necessarily going to, you don't want to copy what they're doing necessarily, but I think you've got to look at it as like what is the thing that, what new standard has this game set? You know, we now have to meet this, you know, so like for something like so we've got a dodge roll obviously and an animation cancelling. That is not a thing that you could get away without, I think, launching an action RPG today. I think it just wouldn't work. It is set, there is a minimum standard there for that kind of level of controllability. You need to meet it.
I feel like you could if it wasn't a console game. I feel like the dodge roll came about because you wanted to design for controllers, I'm going to be honest. They wanted a standardized roll they could have on the A button. I feel like the dodge roll absolutely could not. If it was a PC only game, no consoles, I feel like there's a good chance that they would not have dodge roll. Just saying. I think the WASP movement and dodge roll came about because of the fact that they were actually wanting to do console.
The same is true of many other systems, like trade and the way item system work and a bunch of other things like that. Like you have to make sure you're learning that from other games. So it's just about making sure you're meeting that.
I'm a dodge roll enjoyer, chat.
Raising all the time, right? With every game that comes out, there's something new.
I love dodge rolls,
and they're right to do so, right?
Like if a game has an iframe based dodge roll or a parry in it, I instantly think the game's like 2 times as good. I'd love it. I love the aspect of mastering something, of something that's like very obvious when you master it as well. The feeling of you fight the thing and you fuck up and you get ass destroyed, right? And then you do it again, you get ass destroyed, and then you do it again and you actually start dodging some stuff, and you do it again, and then you start not getting hit, and then you do it again, and it's like the guy can't even hit you, bro. You're like, and it's not like you got better gear or something. You just become Neo, bro. You're just like, you can see the fucking, you're playing Valheim, bro. You're just like literally naked with a fucking spear killing a troll in a cave, bro. Bro. And because you've got skill, it feels good to improve and become like, get mastery, right?
Just more generally, what's your favorite game of all time and why?
Oh, geez. I mean, that's always a hard one.
Well, Sekiro.
I mean, if I really had to...
Or Dark Souls, any of those games.
Putting me on the spot, it's the first thing that comes to mind is Half-Life. Because, like, I mean... It's the stuff you play when you're a kid, right? That it's like, this is the greatest game ever, you know what I mean? Like, it was the... When I was a kid, it was, my favorite games were Final Fantasy VII and Half-Life and StarCraft, right? Like, these are my... these are like the 3 sort of pillars of my of my youth of gaming, right?
Final Fantasy
so it's very hard
VII?
to look past that when, nothing else compares to that first experience you have with
Wait, is that one with Tifa in it and Aerith? Is it the one that I played? Is it did I play the remastered version of the game that he liked? Okay, he just liked titties, didn't he? He just liked titties. He just liked Tifa's big ass titties, didn't he? That's what he was liking, not actually the game. All right.
Half-Life might be...
Wait, what is like Final Fantasy 7 for Tifa? FF7 Tifa. Original. Yeah, I know what he was into, bro. I see what he was into, bro, for real. Yeah, I mean, look at those polygons. Look at those polygons, homie.
One of the more probably slightly up there above the other ones. You might expect me to say Diablo, which obviously was a big deal, but you know, like, honestly, when I was a kid, it was those other ones.
Yeah, when I was a kid, and I know we're wrapping up here, but I got the Brood War chest, and that was like my first experience.
Bro, do you notice that like Jonathan kind of like hesitates to speak about Chris nowadays? It's actually kind of sad. It's like Chris, dude. Actually, do you know what? Like Jonathan and Chris, do you know? It actually reminds me of me and Instability 01. Same sort of vibe, same vibe, bro. You know what happened? Where did it go wrong? Why did he leave? Why did Chris leave? Nobody fucking knows what happened, bro.
Nice.
Come back, Chris.
Nice.
Okay, just real quick on this last interview. This was one of the earliest interviews I did, and my microphone was not working during it, so I did audio pickups, which may sound a little bit disjointed, but I'm basically repeating what I asked at the time. Here you go. What's the most important thing for an ARPG to get right?
I don't know that I can answer just one thing, because really I'd say there's 5 major things. So the number one to me is action combat, right? Like you can't have like an MMO style combat. It needs to be action focused. Another one is random item generation. The random items are super important. You need to get that right. Very few games actually do. The next one is random levels. Ultra important, because if you want a game to last for a long period of time, you have to have level randomization. Once again, something that a lot of modern games aren't really doing these days. Another one is secure online economy. So effectively, you have to have a secure item system. If you don't have the ability to trade items between players, then people just won't value them the same way as if they find them themselves. And then the last one, what is my 5th pillar? What have I forgotten here?
You ranted about him saying this last time. I don't feel like Jonathan, like he didn't fully respect to just secure online, like, bro, just having secure online servers. Not even an economy. Even as an SSF player, I want to know people aren't cheating. Like, and that's important, fundamental to me. It's not even just trading, because he only over talks about the trading aspect. I think secure online servers is the thing that's big, not the economy part. Again, like before he was talking about yapping about economy, I don't think. I mean, obviously I'm biased because I'm an SSF and I like solo playing most of the time and I don't care to trade all the time. But I just feel like no, secure online servers should be the pillar, not secure online economy.
That's right.
Like the whole game could be SSF and it'll still be very successful. It'd still be very successful. I mean, don't get me wrong, it'd be way better multiplayer for sure. It'd be more successful multiplayer, 100%. But it would still be very, like, successful SSF. I mean, you listen to Chris Wilson talk as well. He says, what's the best way to play the game? You ask Chris Wilson. He says, SSF, hardcore. That's what he says, bro. And it's because he's right. He's right, bro.
Character customization. You have to have the ability to have a large amount of character customization so that if you're playing the game over and over again, you're going to have a lot of different ways to play. It's going to be a different experience every time. So to me, those are the 5. That's how you make an action RPG right there. We've said this at GDC.
He said it like 100 times.
Still action RPGs come out and they don't have one of those. And I'm kind of like, we're giving you the secret sauce, guys. Like, that's how you do it. So yeah, to me, that's an action RPG right there.
Is it inspiring to see so many successful ARPGs on the market right now?
I think it is good because a rising tide lifts all boats, and especially with the kind of seasonal model that action RPGs do best with, there's room for people to play more than one action RPG at a time. But the big thing to me...
this is back in March, I guess, when D4 came out, 2024, this one. So, yeah, I think he's talking about... Yeah, I don't know. Well, D4 was net positive for Jonathan and PoE2 in general. Don't get it twisted, because everyone... Like, they generated a bunch of hype around, an ARPG, and then it sucked dick. But now there's a bunch of people who want an ARPG, but because they remember. And now they're going to have PoE2. But do you think they're doing bad PR? Do you think there's going to be people who are like, oh, I tried D4 and that was bad, so PoE2 is going to be bad? I don't know, maybe.
That I found is that when new games come out like that, they kind of set a new minimum standard, and we have to make sure we're meeting that standard. Like if they have features that players now expect, that means that we have to make sure we're adapting to what that new minimum is. So that makes it challenging, right? Like there are things we could have gotten away with before Last Epoch comes out, and then Last Epoch comes out, they have a few things going on that have once again raised a minimum standard. We now have to meet that standard as well. We have to care about that. So that kind of thing, it matters a lot, and as I said, we have to pay attention.
Can you give me an example of something someone else is doing that you really like?
Right. So a really good example of this is the trade stuff they have in Last Epoch, where that isn't to say that we want to copy what they're doing with trade, but the key thing is that there was clearly a community demand to make trade easier than what it is in PoE 1. And when there isn't another game that's meeting that demand, we can honestly get away with a worse experience. But when there is, it's like, well, we have to do something about this, right? We have to make sure that we have a trade system that's going to, allow that to, to meet the...
Last Epoch isn't dead. It's just hibernating till like another big content patch. Like, people are going to play Last Epoch again whenever some new content patch comes out. Although I feel like, I think it's going to be massively diminished because of PoE2's existence. Like, once PoE2 comes out, for sure, it's going to be a big hit for them, I feel like. But, Last Epoch know this, right? And they're not dumb. I've literally talked to their main dude multiple times, Judd. And he knows, like, he's like, well, we're just going to, they're going to communicate with GGG and they're just going to release content during the downtimes of PoE2. It's kind of like getting cucked, I guess, a little bit, but then it's not. It's actually just smart. It's just smart, right? Like, if that, as long as Last Epoch releases their shit during downtimes of PoE2, it's not going to be like, should I play this or that? It's like, well, I already played a bunch of PoE2. There's a Last Epoch patch coming out. It's got a bunch of new shit in it. Fuck it, I'll give it a try. And there you go.
New minimum standard. Otherwise, people are just going to be complaining about it, and they're right to, right? Because once other games in the genre have lifted the standard, that's on us to improve.
When watching streams, do you ever see things you want to address or fix?
Absolutely. I mean, the only way that we're going to improve is doing that stuff. And it's honestly just watching the people who are playing here, the number of issues they ran into it and being like, God damn it. Like, we really should have done something about that. It's painful, but you have to do it. Like, the user testing, seeing what people actually do is super important.
Does Path of Exile 2 feel vastly different from Path of Exile?
Well, I would definitely say so. To me, just the way combat feels is just vastly different than before. And like, that's kind of what I just really want that nobody, like, if you go to forums about like when we release a new Path of Exile 1 expansion, one of the top comments outside of our community is always, I tried that game, but I just thought it felt really bad or really old or something like that. I just want to make sure that no one ever again says that our combat isn't best in class. Like, I want to make sure that that we don't have that.
Alpha, bro. Do you know what's crazy is I thought PoE2 was, like, after playing PoE2, I thought, this combat's going to be worse than D4 combat. Like, the gameplay, even though D4 is a shallow little puddle of a thing, it's still going to have better gameplay and better combat and better graphics of PoE2. Because that was the case back then. But now, I think literally D4 is going to get outclassed in every aspect of the game, except for cinematics. That's the only thing that D4 will have over PoE at that point. Pretty much, I think they're going to get outclassed in every single aspect of the game. Yeah, D4 gameplay is it's objectively like a little bit cleaner than PoE currently. It just is just smoother, just nicer. The movement, the animations, the way that the hitting and everything. Hey, no, just genuinely is. It is. Hey, but I feel like, and I thought that would be the case with PoE2 probably after playing it back like 4 years ago or whatever, the first ExileCon. But then after they've been delaying it and improving it and iterating, and now that D4 has been doing the opposite, like, well, not the opposite, but like barely doing fuck all, right, stagnating. I mean, their quote-unquote expansion, bro, was so lackluster and underwhelming, I don't know how to describe it. I feel like, literally, PoE will beat D4 in gameplay, graphics, like, actual end-game, campaign, story, everything. The only thing that D4 is still going to have over PoE is going to be cinematics. I'm sorry, I've watched the cinematic of the even though I dislike D4 the most, the cinematics still are way better, bro. I mean, that intro cinematic for D4 still makes me, even watching it now, even knowing how bad D4 is, I still think it's sick. I still think it's sick.
Criticism anymore. I just don't want to see it again. And so, that's why I'm really motivated to make sure that we're fixing those problems. And I think we can still even do more than what we've even done now.
Can you tell us more about why you delayed the beta?
Yeah, so ultimately it just comes down to the fact that we didn't appreciate the degree to which really nailing, like, the amount of polish you need to do on something to really make it perfect. We're still going to get all the content that we said we were going to, like, the content we said we were going to have, like, that will be ready. There'll be a whole game there. It's just that, like, the level of polish. So when we actually went and we're like, okay, we're preparing for this demo here, and we're going to get Act 1 and 2 flawless. We're going to get it perfect. The amount of work that took to get it to the point where even we still have bugs now, but I mean, to get to the point where we were like, yeah, we've got something here. just took longer than we expected. Like the level of polish that we, I guess, demand of ourselves at this point is just higher than it is in PoE1. Like a PoE1 boss does not get, I guess, does not need this level of attention. It's kind of shocking, honestly, how much more work it is to get a boss from feeling like, okay, it's got all its skills, to getting to the point where it's like, okay, now it's actually really solid and fun to play. And like, it's just like so many subtle details of how AI works and so on, and all this sort of stuff. And then the other side of that is player skills.
What's scary though is what's scarier is this mentality. You see this a lot actually, where people constantly one up and 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 one up. And what happens is they get to the point where they one up themselves so much that they actually get stun locked, and then they stop releasing stuff because they need it to be perfect, but it can't literally be perfect. This happens to a million YouTubers, where each video takes longer and longer and longer to the point, like, look at Vsauce is a good example. I actually watched a doco on this recently, and it's like, yeah, every single time he did a video, he wanted to elevate it, and that was from 2 days to 4 days to 5 days to fucking a week to 2 weeks to a month to like one video fucking half a year, once a year, and it was like to the point where it's like, you know, you actually just unlock yourself and you stop making content. And I feel like that would be scary if they create this unsatiable beast of like constantly trying to one up themselves where they just don't release content. Although I don't think that'd be the case, because PoE do just kind of force themselves to raw dog every 3 months. And I feel like if they didn't have that, then we would have like way bigger downtime between patches. We'd have way bigger downtime between patches. I think that it's really good that they say like every 3 months, look, we're just going to slap something out regardless. Because then it's like it sets a deadline and they have to put some shit out. Even if it's like, it doesn't matter what state it's in, which is smart. I just hope they don't ever break that, because that was, I think, fundamental and key to their success. I mean, Chris Wilson has said so much. You know, he's said so multiple times, and I think it's 100% true. It's why PoE stayed relevant for as long as it has.
Again, getting them to actually feel really, really good is just a longer experience than we thought. And then in addition to that, we have what I was talking about before, which is that when we go and change player skills, sometimes the result of that is like we have to go through every monster and boss again and change the AI and abilities and all that sort of stuff now to take into account for that. So when we added active block, it's like, well, suddenly you need to have a way to know that a skill is going to be not active blockable. So that means we have to think, okay, we have to make, not only do we have to rethink like every skill of like, okay, does this fight have enough abilities that you know, that a person who's active blocking is able to worry about? Like, is the mix of that correct for this character class? You know, do we have the indicators that we need? Do we have the wind-ups? And all that stuff suddenly comes in. So it's like you change a core feature like that on the player class and all the content needs to change again. And yeah, that once again, that sort of rippled out a huge amount.
Okay, people in chat who are just disagreeing with my previous comment. Okay, morons. Did I say I subscribe to that system? I don't. I understand that system is very self-destructive and it ends up stun-locking people. And on top of that, I don't like that. I am the archetype of streamer / content creator. I am. Okay, I don't like use that word. My archetype is the turn up every day, just do whatever the fuck. It's super low effort. It's the lowest effort, but what it does is it does not cause you to have mental breakdowns, because you're not constantly trying to one up yourself, and it's not going. You're not going to create an insatiable beast that's going to like rip you apart and make you have the whole thing. Look at every single streamer that's had mental breakdowns and had to take giga time off. Pretty much every single one of them either is some domestic bullshit, all right, which would can those guys, or some person who tries to produce something and they try and beat it every time, and eventually they get to a standard where they can't maintain it, and then they have some sort of mental breakdown, which is why the just turn up every day strat is way better. Lower effort, bro, but you know, at the end of the day, you're not going to be stressed out of your mind. Although you're still going to get stressed, but far less.
Hoping there's not going to be too much more of that.
As because my channel will be an example of this. Yes.
It's like, you know, we don't suddenly need to feel like we need to change the entire game again just for another character ability. But on the other hand, we just showed you a mount, and I don't know if we've fully explored the results of that one either yet. So we'll see.
I'm sure it'll break some.
Yes, probably.
What do people buy most in the store?
So armor sets are big, you know, like something just to look cool that way. But recently we've been trying a lot more. I mean, stash tabs is a thing, which is one of those things that's kind of on the borderline, but is you know, a reasonable amount. But then the other one, recently we've been doing a lot more things that involve, like, they trigger off gameplay, but they don't actually change the gameplay in any way. So what's a random example of that? just a random thing like, okay, when you do a critical strike, you get like this extra effect. Or when you kill a rare, you get like a big hand that comes down from the from the heavens and slams down, and this kind of stuff. Like it's stuff that kind of like interacts with gameplay. And I think that for a long time, our microtransactions were entirely visual, and they didn't really have those interesting kind of interaction with the gameplay, which was a mistake. And the big change we made was we started getting our game designers to make the microtransactions rather than having a separate team to make microtransactions. We're like, no, the microtransactions actually need game designers to work on them, and that made them significantly better. So that kind of stuff has helped a lot. And so that sort of broadened quite a bit the horizons of what is interesting. So anything that's kind of cool that just happens during gameplay, I think that players really like that kind of stuff.
What's your philosophy?
Yeah,
on...
I'm okay with those as long as they're not actually giving you an actual advantage, which we did see. There's a couple that have a chance of making you have some sort of like basically if there's a MTX that is effectively a weak aura that allows you to gain insight or information about a monster that you may not otherwise have, that's when that's when it potentially could be better win. But so far there's been no egregious examples of that. There've been some things that are kind of like, okay, that's a bit sussy, but yeah, maybe in PoE2 with slower paced gameplay combined with the MTX that works quite intelligently, it could be pseudo pay to win. We'll have to see.
Microtransactions.
I would actually. Do you know what? The most pay to win MTX. What is it, chat? What is the most pay to win MTX? Because I'll tell you right now what it is. Because there is a pay to win MTX and it does exist. Okay, people are saying the DD MTX, but wait, it's a little bit different. It is invisible. Yes, invisible. It's literally in many cases, you just straight up get more visual clarity, can see more on the screen, and your frame rate for your computer is higher, so you get better frame rates. So invisible MTX is yes. There it is, bro. Go thrice skin transfer for Newton. Okay, dude, that is...
You've seen them handled poorly?
I mean, the main thing really, as you said, is the pay-to-win stuff. And like it may seem obvious, but the ultimate downside of anything that you sell is that you are incentivized as a developer to not make that thing good for free, if you know what I mean. And so you could argue that by selling cosmetics, that we're not incentivized to make our non-cosmetic items look as cool. But I mean, I think that's we do try anyway, of course, but at the same time, like that's a thing that you have to worry about. And I think a lot of games, like they may go into things where the philosophy is, oh, we can sell this thing and it's not going to be a problem. But then there's this just sort of subtle effect that it has on all your game design where it just infects things and kind of just like influences how the game is to play.
I mean, P1, if you don't have MTX, your character does look like a massive fucking clown. Unless you spend like ages hunting down a bunch of skin transfers and actually sitting there like manually doing it, which nobody fucking does, your character does look like a fucking massive clown. And I do that myself. I use that on MD, but yeah, no, I think it's a short-term gain if they were to do that, but long-term loss because people are gonna look at your game and be like, man, that looks fucking stupid. The guy's wearing a bucket on his head with like some weird like 2-pixel armor thing. It's just not good. Yeah, and you know what? Yes, everything you put into the game, I feel like also, like every time they add an MTX to the game, it does slightly diminish all other collectibles in the game, but that's a trade-off for how they monetize the game, which I'm totally fine with.
But the moment that monetization touches it, it's kind of like it gets a bit corrupted by it. So yeah, that's really it. I don't know if I have any like exact specifics on a specific game to really call out and shame here, but that's kind of the main thing. So like even when you look at because I guess I'm like this, I'll just talk about PoE and the fact that we sell stash tabs. So the original reason why we were like, that's fine, is because if we didn't sell stash tabs, what people would do is create more free accounts, because you can just create as many accounts as you want in a free-to-play game. You could just effectively create more accounts and have more stash anyway in a more inconvenient manner. So then we're like, okay, well, like people are going to do this anyway, so therefore the selling of that isn't going to be an issue. And it isn't for the most part an issue, I think. But at the same time,
it's not.
You'll see a game designer and they'll say something like, oh, like it's fine if this thing doesn't stack too bad. It'll just, they'll just put it in the stash and that'll sell more stash tabs. And I'm like, no, we need to really, like, even just that is immediately making a thing. Like, someone is saying this because of the business model. They should never be doing that. Like, we want to keep the game designers away from that thinking as much as possible.
Man, what the fuck? Give everyone currency tabs, bro. Give everyone currency tabs at that point. Because, fuck. I feel like that's kind of them doing it. Why is currency tab not baseline? Like, currency tab with affinity should be baseline. I said it, bro. There it is. Okay.
And so anytime I see that, I'm kind of like, no, we really have to not fall down into that hole. But even just for something as simple as what
I
we
feel
do
like there is a
have-
massive problem if you don't have currency tabs. It's complete cancer, right? And when you do, it's like the opposite. It's insane quality life. So then you kind of are creating a problem. You're adding in a bunch of like splinter things for some new lead mechanic, and then there's no fucking tab if you haven't bought the tab. So then, like, you have to deal with this problem that someone who has the tab would not. I don't know. It kind of goes against what he's saying right now. Is what I'm saying. It sounds like a little bit hypocritical. I'm totally fine with it. The thing is, I'm the first one to say it. Stash tabs are pay to win, right? For sure. No, how pay to win? And then they're barely pay to win, right? As long as they're affordable, I think it's absolutely fine. It's a tiny little barrier to entry, which, you know, if you play the game to the point where you actually need stash tabs, well then fuck. You do pretty much OGG money at that point, dude. Come on. Buy the fucking stash tabs, pussy. Like, just, like, you know what I'm saying? Just buy them.
That's already, like, you know, I've heard people say something like that, and I'm like, no, you know, we can't do this. We have to make sure that we're not. So yeah, as I said, it's a very easy hole to fall into.
I'm very okay with the tiny, like, I'm very, very okay if there's a tiny amount of pay to win in the game, and it's extremely finite and it's not ongoing, right? I'm talking like it's a one-time. It's just like, I look at it the same way as just buying a game, right? I look at it like it's free to play. Like, you can try. You basically get to do a demo trial version, except it's not, instead of a demo, it's like the entire game, bro. And then there's a little bit of quality of life slash a tiny bit of advantage locked behind a bit of money. That's a one-time purchase and it's not massive. That's fine to me. I just see it as buying the game. You basically just get a fucking extensive, full, deep dive demo, and then when you do that one purchase, then you buy the game, and that's fine to me. Now, if it's like, oh, you can just buy power for money, well, then you do completely different systems, and you monetize your game differently, not the same.
And we try as much as possible never to fall into that, and the best way we can do that is by not introducing any pay-to-win elements as much as we can.
Why has Path of Exile stood the test of time? It's more popular than ever right now.
We've been pretty much consistently increasing in player base since we did our league model, the sort of 3-month cycle and so on. But I think ultimately the important reason is because we do those 5 things, and very few games do. I can name on very few titles that actually do all of that right, and then actually follow up by having the seasonal releases. Other games that don't, like, for example, so Last Epoch doesn't have random areas, at least not like in the way that Path of Exile does. And I think that if they don't do something about that, that could be something that is going to hurt them, because I think that kind of thing will
listen up, Last Epoch. There's the
fuck. Once again, it's just one of those things that, like, when we were looking at,
listen to Jonathan.
Like, these pillars actually go right back to the very founding of our studio. Like, when we founded our studio, we're like, these are the 5 things you need to have a long-lasting game. And if you look at Diablo 2, which also had all of these things, Diablo 2, which of course we were very highly influenced by when we started our studio, is also one of the longest lasting games. Like, that game was being sold in stores. Obviously, this is back when people actually went into stores and bought games. This was still being sold in stores like 10 years after it came out. There is like no other game I can think of that has that kind of long-term run.
Lack of competition, bro.
It's absolutely crazy. So it really shows you that those 5 pillars really do get you a long-lasting game.
How much Path of Exile versus Path of Exile 2 have you been playing?
So at this point, I have to admit, I don't play much Path of Exile 1. I actually find it very hard to go back to, because the combat is just so much worse than PoE2 from my experience. That
PoE1's dead, boys. It's dead.
I just can't really do it anymore.
It's dead, bro.
PoE2 I play every night. You have to, right? Like, every night I spend my evening playing the game. My son, thankfully, really enjoys watching me do it. It's just because, like, I need to see the kind of changes, and because every time
his wife cooks a mean feed as well, bro. Let me tell you, I can see it now, bro. I can see it now. He's living in he lives in a fucking mansion, got the meanest computer set up, and his wife cooks mean fucking feeds, bro. Mean roast. I've gone around his house twice now and had a feed twice. Both times, absolutely, like, succulent meat, succulent.
Time you play the thing, you just learn a little bit more and a little bit more, and you just have to keep on iterating on it. So yeah, I pretty much have to play constantly. But I enjoy it, right? Like, it is fun to do, and it's especially great seeing all of the art.
To be fair, Chris not Chris. Even Jonathan was doing a bunch of the barbecuing. Actually, to be honest, most of the meat I probably ate was actually Jonathan's meat. So, but her shit was still good as fuck. She had little entree things she's going around with, bro. Some good shit, man. Let me tell you.
That gets added, and like all the new things that come in, like, it's actually great. And like, every time I see a new thing, I'm like, oh yeah, that's so cool. Like, those little elements. So that's really fun. But I have to admit, I don't play PoE 1 anymore. And the person who does is Mark, and he is therefore much more involved in Path of Exile 1.
That's Mark 2.
At this point, as I said, it's hard to go back to.
What's a non-ARPG that you've played and really liked?
I mean, other than Balatro? Okay, what was the most recent thing? Oh, so the most recent one I was playing was Prince of Persia, that new Prince of Persia game that came out. Can't remember the subtitle of it.
Oof.
The Lost Crown, yeah. So that one's pretty interesting to me. I think that there's a lot of really interesting combat design in that game, and I was paying attention to it quite a lot. Even though, as I said, totally different genre, but I think that there's a lot to learn from these kinds of action games and looking at some of the sequences and some
goddamn
of the...
DEI ruined that game. Goddamn wokies, man. Goddamn ruined that game, man. Let me tell you, bro.
These things combined and so on.
Actually, I have no idea.
That game's obviously got a lot of aerial type stuff, which is not applicable to us at all, but it's very interesting to look at something like that. And also, when you look at the bosses in a game like that, it's sort of there's just sort of interesting inspiration you can take. So that's probably the most recent one that I played that I was really kind of thought was really good. But it is honestly hard to find AAA games these days that have the kind of good qualities that I'm looking for in a game. So that was a nice one.
A huge thank you to Jonathan Rogers.
What does he need to play? What does he need to play? He needs to play PE1 more. Okay. Yep. He needs to play. Maybe he needs to log in some Hades. Terraria for sure. I don't know about Black Myth Wukong actually did do some cool shit. I love some of the things where they combine gameplay mechanics with lore. I think that's fucking cool. I think it's cool. Baldur's Gate 3 obviously. I mean BG3 would give you a bunch of inspiration for cool abilities and combinations and synergies. Magicraft. Bro, Magicraft straight up is PoE2 by the way. I'm not even kidding. That game has got... It basically is PoE2. If you have not logged in to Magicraft, yeah. That game is fucking amazing, and it's like a roguelike version of PoE2. Straight up.
And everybody at Grinding Gear Games for letting us play the game, letting me get a chance to sit down with Jonathan to talk a little bit about Grinding Gear Games and Path of Exile 2. If you want to play Path of Exile, you can get access on December 6th if you are a supporter. If you spent over, I believe it was $480 in the original Path of Exile, you get instant access. And if you pay $30, you can just get into early access. Otherwise, when the game fully launches...
1K upvotes to 0 downvotes. Wait, 1K upvotes to 18K views? Isn't that way high? Wait, isn't that way high? Am I crazy? Quin69. What's he got? 18K views. Let's find an 18K view video. I don't know. I can't find one. We'll just do the maths. Half this. It should be 2K. Should be 2K theoretically. 400. This is botted. This is botted, bro. This is botted. Right? Dude, this should be at least 2K or this shit is just straight up botted. I mean, hey, who knows? Did IGN bot themselves? Nah, it's probably some guys just trying to fuck with IGN, right? It's probably some guys trying to fuck with IGN. Yeah, it's probably just so, yeah. Yeah, it's probably, yeah. I don't know. Hey, whatever, dude. I'm not voting. It was a good enough interview for IGN. It's good IGN content. So, yep. Oh my god, dude. Purple Helltide, log in. Helltide is now purple. Yeah, there we go. It's a classic tweet. She does this every time. They're gonna run. Yep, there it is. It's true. Dude, this new update, man. Purple Helltide, bro. For real. The funny thing is she's not wrong. She's actually not wrong. Neversink. Wait, what did Neversink say? He's gonna say I'm gonna own, right? Because I'm a god gamer. Because I'm a T3 Neversink sub.
To finish the campaign in hardcore.
In hardcore.
He's only playing hardcore. And he's gonna try to finish it. If he dies, he's gonna keep re-rolling. So how many days?
I have so much respect for Quinn.
Hey, my man. T3 sub, bro.
3 weeks.
3 weeks. All right.
That's good. That's good.
The longest one we have on here is 5 weeks.
I think the biggest problem is that you probably be kind of getting to one boss, dying to him, then beating that boss, and getting to the next boss, dying to him, beating that boss, and then this kind of just the whole thing that getting to the crew X will take a while. I think it'll take a while. Maybe it'll be like 2, but you know what? Let's change it to 2. I believe in Quinn.
Yo, 2 weeks.
The shortest we have on here is 3 days.
Wait, 2 weeks is still insane. I feel like dude. Hey, he believes in me. But I mean, if I had to predict, it's gonna take me like. I would predict. I'm thinking like 4 days. 4 days. 4 days. Yeah. 4 days, I think I would have beaten it. Like the camp. This is just the campaign, chat. Yeah, I'm gonna overlevel and overgear for sure. Like, absolutely. I'm gonna overlevel and overgear like crazy, bro. So, yeah, 4 days. I'm gonna go hardcore, yes. I do suspect to die, obviously, but yeah, we'll have to see. Take a shot every time Quinn pauses in campaign. Yeah, afraid of a challenge? Well, no, but 3 weeks? Yeah, I don't know, dude. Alright, gamers, it's time. We've all caught up on the PoE2 news. That's it. I believe that's everything for today. I think that we're going to start seeing some massive teasers come out. Oh, maybe even today, actually. It is Wednesday. Wait, remember, chat. It's Wednesday today. The game comes out on Saturday. So then, therefore, they're going to start posting stuff. Like, they're going to post teasers. It's going to be, like, real soon. So I suspect even today we may even see some teasers today. Austin Burks' build.
Ban the guy. What the fuck? What is this garbage system, man?
And tributes, bro. It's cool tributes. Alright, so there's requirements for your gear. Alright, 3 days left only. Poggy's little announcement. We done the announcement. Ishiro's Beach Simulator. Only teasers. PoE2 teasers. Today for sure. Path of Exile.